Hi, I'm Amber. I'm on the plant team here at Root One, and today I'm just going to take you through how to make up a hanging basket. So the first step is going to be your compost. So I've got here moisture control compost from Miracle-Gro, which is really good for pots and baskets. I'm going to add it into this trug and basically mix it all up so the compost isn't clumping together at all. If you don't have the moisture control compost, we do sell granules which you can add into any compost that you're using, which will also achieve essentially the same effect. So we've got that for sale in our shop as well at the minute, but I don't need it for this. So now it's time to actually start working on the basket, especially if you have a cone-shaped basket. Having an old pot that's a decent size to rest it on is really helpful, so it's not tipping over and you can get everything even. Obviously with a round basket, it's just as helpful. So starting by taking the plastic liner and making sure you have some drainage holes in there, because a lot of times they won't come, and I just take my snips and I stab a few holes at a couple points in the bottom, 4 usually, so it's 1 on each side, and that way it has a pretty equal amount of drainage all throughout. And the next thing we're going to do is fill it just about halfway with compost. So now the basket's a little bit more than halfway filled with compost. I've chosen a lot of plants here that would look really nice in a hanging basket, and there's so many different options. I've also got a couple of our 6-packs that have different varieties. So we have the Elysium mixed, some petunias, and very popular Busy Lizzies or Impatiens in a lavender colour. So from there, what I always like to do is to place things briefly before actually putting them into the soil completely, so I know what the basket's going to look like in the end. I like to do one taller thing in the middle or near the back, but for this case we'll do it in the middle, and then surround it with things that will trail and add a little bit of structure. So I've chosen this geranium because it's got a gorgeous colour here that's come out and coordinates with a bunch of the other plants that we've chosen. This is a really nice pop of a greenish yellow colour called a Helichrysum in gold, and that is going to trail down the basket as well and give it some texture. And we've got a trailing petunia called Tumbelina, and this is the superstar variety. So it's not come out yet because it's just a tad early for petunias, but they're a really beautiful addition, and we're going to have some colour now and a little bit later when we get into summer when they keep going. Also got an Alpine, which is perfectly suitable to go in a hanging basket because they often have a trailing habit. So this is a Trifolium Dragon's Blood, really similar looking to an Oxalis, and I'm going to put that right in the front there. So we've got all these things trailing down and creating a really beautiful waterfall effect. I've also got an upright fuchsia, which will have those bell-shaped sort of flowers. This one is called Blackie, and it's got the pink on the outside and then a really dark color on the inside, which is going to be a nice amount of depth to add to this. It's going to get a little bit taller, so I'm going to put it ever so slightly behind the geranium so it will come up and you'll be able to see it from whatever direction you're coming in. I've also got a gorgeous purple dianthus, which is obviously in flower now and is going to continue all the way through summer, potentially even continuing into the autumn. They smell really sweet and beautiful, so I love putting them in hanging baskets because it's going to be kind of face height, so you'll be able to smell it when you walk past. So I'll pop that in there, and then for the rest of it I'm going to dot around, I think, some Elysium, because I think that's going to be a nice little tiny flower to add some other texture. So now I feel like I'm going to move that back a little, really carefully squeeze these a little bit, and then just by the leaves, you want to be tender though so they don't break when you're coming out, very gently place it in there. So it's going to look essentially like that. I'm going to add another one in there, and from there I'm pretty happy with how the arrangement looks. So I'll start actually taking things out of their pots and popping them in. I'm gonna take everything out one at a time, place it in. That'll fit just perfect right there. And I've got room for another Elysium there as well. It's surprising how much you can actually fit into one of these big baskets. I'm firming it in a little bit just to make sure it gets good contact so it's properly going to root into that basket. I tend to just clean up the plants as well, take off any leaves that might be a bit damaged for any reason. So the last step for the basket is going to be taking any last bits of compost and continuing to firm it in and fill in any of those holes and gaps in between the plants. Find all the holes, fill them, and gently press them in. So now all this needs is a really good water and it's pretty much ready to go. So that is through and through how to put together a hanging basket.